obvious.
Oh, wait!
Deported? Will you marry me?
No.
We're getting married.
Please, don't.
Right for you to hold on to. Okay, bye-bye. No, wait!
What happens when two people who can't stand each other are suddenly forced to pretend they're in love? That's the hilarious and surprisingly heartwarming idea behind The Proposal, a romantic comedy released in 2009 starring Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. On the surface, it looks like a fun fake marriage comedy full of awkward moments and funny misunderstandings. But underneath all the laughs, it's also a story about loneliness, control, family, and learning how love often appears when we least expect it. Directed by Anne Fletcher, The Proposal became one of the most loved romantic comedies of its time. It combines sharp humor, charming performances, beautiful scenery, and emotional moments that give the story more depth than people might expect. Even years later, it remains a comfort movie for fans of the genre. The film begins in New York City, where we meet Margaret Tate, played brilliantly by Sandra Bullock. Margaret is a powerful and successful executive editor at a publishing company. She is highly intelligent, demanding, organized, and feared by almost everyone around her. Employees panic when she walks by. She expects perfection, has no patience for mistakes, and treats people more like machines than human beings. At first glance, Margaret seems cold and heartless. But the movie slowly reveals that her harsh personality comes from a life built around control. She has chosen success over relationships and power over vulnerability. She lives alone, works constantly, and has very little warmth in her life. Then we meet Andrew Paxton, played by Ryan Reynolds. Andrew is Margaret's overworked assistant. He handles everything for her: coffee, scheduling, errands, calls, and whatever else she demands. He is smart, capable, and ambitious, but he feels trapped. He dreams of becoming an editor himself, but instead he spends his days serving someone who barely appreciates him. The chemistry between Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds becomes clear immediately. Their relationship is built on frustration, sarcasm, and constant tension. Andrew dislikes Margaret's controlling behavior, and Margaret sees Andrew as useful but replaceable. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Margaret suddenly learns that her visa problem means she is being deported back to Canada. Since she failed to renew important paperwork, she can no longer legally stay in the United States. For someone whose entire life and career exist in New York, this is a disaster. In panic mode, Margaret makes a shocking decision. Right in front of immigration officers and co-workers, she announces that she and Andrew are engaged. Andrew is completely stunned. He had no warning, no discussion, and no choice. But Margaret quickly pressures him into going along with the lie. She promises him a promotion and a future as an editor if he helps her avoid deportation by pretending they are in love and planning to marry. Andrew agrees, but only because he sees an opportunity to finally get something in return for all the years he has served her. This fake engagement sets the stage for the rest of the movie. Soon, immigration officials become suspicious. They are told that because their relationship seems sudden and strange, they will be investigated. If they fail to prove the marriage is real, Margaret could be deported permanently, and both could face legal consequences. To make things more believable, Andrew tells Margaret they must travel to Alaska for his grandmother's 90th birthday, where his family lives. There, everyone can meet Margaret as his fiancée. This is where the movie truly comes alive. The setting shifts from busy New York offices to the stunning natural beauty of Alaska. Mountains, forests, water, and open skies create a completely different atmosphere. It's peaceful, warm, and family-centered, the exact opposite of Margaret's cold corporate world. When they arrive, Andrew's family is thrilled. His mother, father, and especially his energetic grandmother instantly welcome Margaret with excitement. They believe Andrew is finally getting married and settling down. But there's one problem. Andrew never told them about Margaret before, and now both of them must perform a romance in front of people who know Andrew deeply. This creates some of the funniest scenes in the movie. They have to pretend to know intimate details about each other, show affection on command, and answer personal questions without exposing the truth. Sandra Bullock is excellent here. She balances Margaret's confidence with visible discomfort. Margaret can dominate a boardroom, but she struggles in a loving family environment where people ask sincere questions and expect emotional honesty. RyanReynolds also shines. Andrew enjoys watching Margaret struggle. For once, he has some power in the relationship, and he uses it to tease her and push her out of her comfort zone. One of the funniest scenes involves Margaret accidentally bumping into Andrew while both are nearly unclothed, leading to chaotic physical comedy. It's awkward, ridiculous, and perfectly timed. The film uses embarrassment not just for laughs, but to break down the walls between them. As time passes, something unexpected happens. Margaret begins to soften. For the first time in a long while, she experiences family warmth. She sees people who care for each other without conditions. She watches Andrew laugh, relax, and become a completely different person around the people he loves. Andrew also starts seeing Margaret differently. He notices that beneath her sharp attitude is someone deeply lonely. She has no close relationships, no emotional safety, and no place where she truly belongs. Her controlling behavior was never about cruelty alone, it was also about survival. This emotional shift is what makes The Proposal more than a simple comedy. The fake relationship slowly becomes real. There's tenderness in small moments, shared looks, honest conversations, growing trust. Their insults become playful instead of bitter. Their forced closeness turns into genuine connection. Another standout character is Andrew's grandmother, played with unforgettable energy by Betty White. She steals many scenes with her humor, charm, and surprising wildness. Her presence gives the movie heart and unpredictability. One memorable scene shows Margaret joining a strange forest ritual with the grandmother, dancing and chanting in a comedic spiritual ceremony. It's absurd and hilarious, but also symbolic. Margaret is stepping into a world of emotion, chaos, and humanity, things she has spent years avoiding. The movie also introduces Andrew's ex-girlfriend, who creates jealousy and tension. Margaret begins to realize she actually cares about Andrew more than she expected. What started as a transaction now feels personal. And Andrew begins to question what he really wants. Does he still resent Margaret? Or has he fallen for the real woman hidden behind the powerful executive mask? Eventually, the pressure becomes too much. During the wedding preparations, Margaret reaches a breaking point. She realizes she cannot continue the lie, especially in front of a family that has treated her with genuine love. In a surprisingly emotional scene, Margaret confesses the truth. She admits that the engagement began as a fraud to avoid deportation. She says Andrew was pressured into it. She apologizes and prepares to leave. This moment changes everything. For the first time, Margaret chooses honesty over control. She risks losing her job, her future, and the man she loves because she can no longer manipulate people to get what she wants. It's a major turning point for her character. Andrew is shocked. His family is disappointed and confused. Margaret returns to New York, believing she has lost everything. But Andrew now understands something important. He realizes Margaret has changed. He sees her vulnerability, courage, and sincerity. He also realizes that somewhere along the way, he fell in love with her. So what does every romantic comedy hero do when he finally understands his feelings? He runs after her. Andrew returns to New York and finds Margaret. In front of coworkers who once feared her, he proposes for real. This time, there is no immigration trick, no business deal, no manipulation. Just love. Margaret is overwhelmed. The woman who once controlled every detail of life is now being offered something genuine and unpredictable. She says yes. And the film ends with hope, laughter, and the promise of a real future together. Now let's talk about why this movie works so well. First, the casting is perfect. Sandra Bullock gives Margaret intelligence, humor, and hidden sadness. She could have played the character as simply mean, but instead she makes Margaret human. We understand why she became this way, and we root for her growth. Ryan Reynolds brings natural charisma, timing, and emotional warmth. He makes Andrew likable and funny, but also grounded enough to balance Margaret's intensity. Together, they have excellent chemistry. Their arguments feel sharp, their comedy feels natural, and their romantic moments feel earned. Second, the script understands that great romantic comedy needs both humor and heart. Many movies get one right and fail the other. The Proposal succeeds because it gives us laugh-out-loud scenes while also telling a meaningful story about connection and change. Third, Alaska as a setting is genius. The open, natural environment contrasts perfectly with Margaret's closed, artificial city life. It visually represents the emotional journey of the film. Of course, the movie is not perfect. Some plot points are unrealistic. In real life, immigration fraud is serious and complicated. The film treats it lightly for comedy purposes. Certain moments are predictable if you know the romantic comedy formula. You can guess where the story is going. But honestly, that doesn't hurt the experience. This genre is often about the journey, not the surprise ending. We watch because we enjoy seeing two opposites collide, change, and fall in love. And The Proposal does that exceptionally well. Even years later, many people still rewatch it because it feels comforting. It has humor without cruelty, romance without excessive drama, and characters who genuinely grow. It also reminds viewers of something simple but true. Sometimes the people we dislike most are the ones who challenge us to become better versions of ourselves. Margaret needed someone who wouldn't fear her. Andrew needed someone who would push him beyond comfort. Together, they helped each other change. That's why the romance feels satisfying. Final verdict. The Proposal is one of the strongest romantic comedies of the late 2000s. It's funny, charming, emotional, and endlessly rewatchable. Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds carry the film with effortless chemistry, while Betty White adds unforgettable magic. If you enjoy enemies to lovers stories, fake relationship plots, family comedy, and feel-good romance, this movie is absolutely worth watching. Rating: 8.5 out of 10. A smart, hilarious romantic comedy with real heart. And that is why The Proposal remains a fan favorite even today.